Hello, ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. You know what's terrifying? The silence. The moment the lights go off, the crowd disappears, the applause fades, and there's no one left to validate your existence. Just you, your breath, your thoughts, the raw, unfiltered reality of your soul. That's when you meet yourself, and most people are absolutely terrified of that moment. But me, I believe that's where all the magic begins. When you're alone, brutally alone, not scrolling, not chatting, not pretending, you stop running, you stop acting, the mask cracks, and beneath it you don't find weakness. No, you find fire. You find the wild, unpolished, untamed force you've been hiding behind filters, behind fake smiles, behind the need to please everybody but yourself. You see, we're born alone, we die alone, and somewhere in between, we forget how powerful that aloneness is. Everyone wants noise, everyone wants distraction. They want validation from broken people, approval from people who don't even approve of themselves. They're addicted to attention because they're terrified of introspection. They think being alone is punishment, but no, it's power. Solitude is not a prison. It's your laboratory. It's where the real transformation happens. When I was at my lowest, when the world turned its back, when the spotlight faded, I wasn't destroyed, I was rebuilt. Alone, no cheers, no followers, no friends telling me what I should be. It was just me facing the brutal mirror of reality. And you know what I found? Not perfection, not a hero. I found scars, broken pieces, fears, regrets. But I also found something else, something untouchable. I found my truth, not the version the media wants, not the version fans adore. The real blood and bone truth of who I am. That's where power begins. You can fake everything out there. You can fool the world. You can wear the suit, post the quotes, say all the right things. But you can't fake what you feel at 2 a.m. when it's just you and your heartbeat echoing in the silence. That's the moment that defines you. That's when the warrior is born. You want success. You want power. You want to be unstoppable. Start by being not lonely. Alone, start by sitting with your pain until you understand it. Stop numbing it. Stop running from it. Stop dressing it up in productivity. Let it talk to you. Let it scream if it needs to. Because the voice that emerges from that conversation will be the loudest, most authentic roar you'll ever have. We live in a world obsessed with connection, constant messages, constant likes, constant noise. But the real connection, the nuclear, earth-shattering connection, is the one you make with yourself when you stop pretending, when you stop playing a character just to be liked, when you look into your own soul and finally say, I see you. I hear you. I'm not afraid of you anymore. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. It burns. It rips you apart. But then, like a phoenix, you rise from the ashes, not perfect, but powerful, dangerously powerful. Because no one can manipulate a person who's not afraid to be alone. No one can break someone who's been shattered and rebuilt in silence. No one can confuse someone who knows exactly who they are when everything else is stripped away. Solitude is not weakness. It's the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, I'm enough. I don't need noise to be relevant. I don't need followers to feel real. I don't need to be seen to matter. Mindset is lethal. That mindset turns ordinary people into legends. That mindset turns pain into fuel and silence into symphonies. Some of the greatest decisions I ever made, I made in silence. Some of the strongest versions of me were born in darkness. And every time the world tried to drown me, it was solitude that taught me how to swim, how to breathe underwater, how to punch through the chaos like a mad storm of purpose. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't panic. Don't reach for the phone. Don't fill the silence. Sit with it. Feel the edge. Let it carve you open. Because what's being revealed isn't weakness. It's your real strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to impress, doesn't need to beg. Be alone with yourself. Dare to dive into the madness that lives inside you. That's where the unshakable you is hiding. That's where kings are made. That's where immortality begins. Let me tell you something nobody's going to say out loud. Real power doesn't scream. Real power doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. And the most powerful thing you'll ever experience in your life is silence. Yes, silence. That thing most people are scared of like it's a ghost. They run from it. They bury it under playlists, parties, endless conversations, shallow validation, desperate posts, fake laughs. Because when there's silence, they hear the one thing they can't handle, themselves. But me, I crave it. I protect it like treasure. Because silence is the voice of the universe. It's the roar beneath the noise. And once you learn to sit in it, own it, you become a beast. A silent, focused, sharp-edged weapon. You want to know who's dangerous. It's not the one shouting the loudest. It's the one in the room who doesn't speak, but sees everything. The one who sits still but thinks like thunder. The one whose silence slices through the drama like a blade dipped in fire. People think silence is weakness, that being quiet means you're unsure, insecure, irrelevant. No. Silence is a luxury, a flex. It means I don't need to participate in every circus. I don't need to justify, explain, react. I've already won in my mind before the noise even starts. That's terrifying. That's dangerous. That's real. When I walk into a room, I don't want to be the loudest person. I want to be the one no one can stop watching. The one whose energy says everything words can't. You see, silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of control. It's restraint. It's discipline. It's confidence that doesn't need decoration. You don't need to prove your point when you are the point. You ever notice how the most powerful moments in your life were silent? The stare before you walked away from someone who took you for granted. The stillness before you broke down in a room, alone after holding it together for too long. The quiet moments in the car after a loss when no word could carry the weight. Or that fire before launching yourself into something bigger, crazier, scarier than you've ever done before. Those moments didn't need nuisance. Raw, naked, undeniable presence. I've learned more in silence than I ever did in chaos. Silence made me ruthless with my focus. It made me feel everything I used to run from. And when you feel everything, when you stop numbing and start listening to your gut, your pain, your fire, you start creating from a place no one else can touch. That's a genius lives, where legacy is born. Look, anyone can talk. Blah, blah, blah. Opinions, judgments, noise. But very few can sit with themselves fully. And even fewer can handle your silence. Your silence threatens people who live for chaos. It reminds them how loud their own insecurity is. It exposes their need to always be seen, always be heard, always be relevant. But you, when you walk in and say nothing and still shake the room, that's crazy. That's next level. That's nuclear. You've got to become so solid in your silence that people feel your presence without a single word. Make your stillness louder than their performance. Make your calm louder than their desperation. Make your silence your superpower. Because when you stop responding to every comment, every slight, every provocation, you become untouchable. You become free. They can't control you. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. You're not reacting. You're creating, not entertaining nonsense. You're building legacy. That silence gives you clarity. Control, calm in the chaos. I've stood in rooms full of noise, full of egos, full of arrogance, and all I had to do was stay still, breathe, and wait. And every time silence did the heavy lifting. People underestimate the man who speaks last. They misunderstand the man who chooses words like weapons, not because he's afraid to talk, but because he knows the value of impact. So don't rush to explain yourself. Don't argue with people who've already decided who you are. Don't join battles that don't deserve your energy. Let your silence torture them. Let it echo in their heads louder than any speech ever could. Because silence isn't passive, it's precise, it's surgical. It cuts deeper. You don't have to announce your every move. You don't have to scream your dreams. Do the work, build in silence, evolve in shadows, and then walk in like thunder and change the whole damn weather. That's how you dominate without saying a word. And when you finally speak, when you finally move, when you finally act, it will be undeniable. Because the silence you came from was not empty. It was charged, divine. It was loaded with purpose, pain, strength, fire. That's why it hits harder. That's why your whisper will feel like a roar to a world addicted to noise. So go silent. Not because you're scared, but because you're focused. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you've mastered the art of saying everything without saying a thing. You think being alone means being broken. You think walking alone means you're lost. No, my friend, let me break that delusion right now. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely, it means you're dangerous. We live in a world that's terrified of solitude, A world that worships attention, applause and noise. A world that teaches you to chase people just to feel relevant. But I'll tell you something that they'll never say on your feed. Some of the most little, most focused, most untouchable people you'll ever meet are the ones who walk alone. You see someone who doesn't beg for company, who doesn't fold under silence, who doesn't constantly need validation. And you're looking at someone who's built different, built in fire. Because when you walk alone, you start building from the inside out. You stop looking for answers outside. You stop relying on crowds to keep you warm. You become your own fire, your own shelter, your own army. And that scares people. Because the one who walks alone isn't desperate. They're not chasing attention. They're creating legacy. They're not seeking approval. They're sculpting purpose. They don't need you to understand them. They've already understood themselves. That's why they're magnetic. That's why they look calm in the storm. They are the storm. Let me tell you this. There is nothing lonelier than being surrounded by people who don't get you, who clap for the version of you they created, not the one you've become. That's not connection, that's confinement. But when you walk alone, you're free. Wildly, brutally, beautifully free. People will call you cold when you stop explaining. They'll call you arrogant when you start choosing yourself. They'll say you've changed. And you have. And you evolved. You've elevated. You've stopped lowering your volume to make others comfortable. You've stopped shrinking your spirit to fit inside their fragile boxes. I remember those nights when it was just me and my madness. No friend noise. Just that terrifying, magnificent silence. I didn't run from it. I sat in it. And in that silence, I met the version of me that wasn't afraid. The version that didn't need anyone's permission. The version that could burn alone and rise alone. Do you know how powerful you become when you stop fearing your own company? People chase love like it's oxygen. Chase friends like they're lifeboats. Chase parties like their salvation. And then they wonder why they still feel empty. Because nothing out there can fill the space meant for your own spirit. Your own knowing, your own brutal, unshakable truth. When you're alone, you don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to perform. You don't have to dilute yourself to be liked. You just are. You breathe differently. You think clearly. You start hearing the sound of your own soul. And let me tell you, it's louder than 1,000 voices screaming your name. And don't let anyone tell you being alone means being weak. No. It takes madness to walk alone. It takes grit. It takes backbone. Anybody can hide in a crowd. But it takes a fire-breathing dragon to walk the path with zero applause, with no one watching, with no one hyping you up, and still keep moving like destiny is dragging you forward. You become obsessed, not with people, not with opinions, but with your mission. You sharpen in silence. You craft in solitude. You evolve in shadows. And when you finally emerge it, the world won't know what hit it. They'll ask where you came from. They'll ask how you got so powerful. They'll ask how you made it without them. And you'll just smile because you know what it took. The nights with no comfort. The mornings with no one to lean on. The decisions that made your hands shake. The breakthroughs that came with no claps. The victories that felt lonely but legendary. You walked alone. And you didn't just survive, you built yourself. People are scared of solitude because they think it means nobody wants them. But the truth is, solitude means you stopped wanting people who never deserved to stand next to your fire. You cut the noise. You chose peace over performance, depth over distraction, purpose over popularity. And listen, you don't have to explain your solitude to anybody. Let them misunderstand you. Let them gossip. Let them call you mysterious, detached, too quiet. Who cares? While they're busy talking, you're busy transforming. While they're scrolling, you're building. While they're filling their days with meaningless noise, you're forging a soul that can't be bought, broken, or bent. There's a certain madness in walking alone, a certain elegance in silence, a certain danger in knowing exactly who you are when there's no one around to tell you. And once you taste that freedom, once you fall in love with your own energy, you stop chasing things that insult your soul. So walk alone, not because no one wants you. Walk alone because you no longer want what's not meant for your destiny. Walk alone because you're not afraid of your shadow. You've danced with it. You've befriended the darkness. You've burned in it and emerged untouchable. You're not lonely. You're focused. You're not isolated. You're elevating. You're not empty. You're just too full of realness for a world addict to fake. And when the world finally notices, it'll be too late to catch up. Do you know why people keep running? Because they're afraid of stopping. Because when you stop, when everything gets quiet, there's no one left to lie to. Not even yourself. That's why silence isn't just empty space. It's a mirror. A brutal, unfiltered mirror that reflects everything you've been avoiding. The truth you buried. The pain you numbed. The dreams you abandoned. The voice you silenced to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. But let me tell you something from the core of my heart. Your truth doesn't live in the noise. It lives in the silence. It's waiting for you there, like a fire you forgot you lit. Burning, beckoning, daring you to come closer. The world teaches you to be loud, to speak fast, scroll faster, stay distracted. But silence strips all that away. It exposes you. And that's terrifying. But it's also the most powerful, most raw, most necessary place you'll ever be. Because personality, when you're finally quiet enough to hear your truth, it'll shake you. It'll break you. It'll burn away every lie you've wrapped around your soul. But when it's done it, what's left will be real, unstoppable, unapologetic. You don't need more opinions. You don't need more noise. You don't need people clapping for a version of you that's half alive. What you need is silence, the kind that scorches everything fake until only the real you remains. The real you, the one you buried under, should, must, and what will they think? You want to feel powerful? Sit alone in a quiet room, no distractions, no excuses, just you and your soul, and listen. Listen to the thoughts that rise when the music stops, the feelings that swell when there's no one to impress. That's where your truth lives, and it doesn't whisper, it screams. It screams every time you try to lie to yourself, every time you play small, every time you act like you don't matter. People think the hardest thing in life is chasing success. No. The hardest thing is sitting still and facing the truth of who you've become. Asking yourself, am I really living the life I want? Or am I just existing inside someone else's idea of safety? The truth is wild. The truth doesn't wear a suit and smile politely. The truth is messy. It's fierce. It's inconvenient. But it's also the only thing that will ever set you free. You've got to be brave enough to meet it. Brave enough to walk into the silence like a warrior, not to find comfort, but to find clarity. Because that's what truth gives you, not an easy path, not instant success, but clarity. The kind of clarity that slices through your excuses like a blade dipped in lightning. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know who you really are, beneath the fear, beneath the fake smiles, beneath the filters, you become impossible to control. You become magnetic. You become real. You stop playing roles. You're saying yes when your soul screams. You stop needing permission to breathe, to dream, to live on your own terms. But that doesn't happen in noise. That doesn't happen when you're busy entertaining distractions. It happens in silence, in solitude, in those sacred moments when the world shuts up and your soul speaks up. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't drown it in scrolling or drinking or pretending to be fine. Because when your truth calls out to you, it doesn't ask politely. It shouts. It shakes the foundation of your fake until you either change it or crumble. And yes, it will hurt. It will tear through your comfort zones like wildfire. It will make you question everything. But that pain, that's rebirth, that's evolution. That's the real you crawling out of the cage you locked yourself in. And once you've heard that voice, your voice, everything changes. You walk differently, you breathe differently, you don't beg for acceptance. You don't shrink in rooms that were never built to hold you. You speak with a conviction that comes from knowing, not guessing, who the hell you are. Not everyone will understand. Some will call you crazy. Some will fall away. Let them. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be aligned with yourself. Because when you live in your truth, you become a force. A fire, a frequency too high for small minds and shallow connections. You'll see people differently. You'll stop chasing half-hearted love and empty friendships. You'll stop settling for crumbs when you were born to own the whole damn table. But it starts with silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of power, of stillness so deep it vibrates with truth. of awareness so sharp it slices through every illusion. So find it. Turn down the volume on the world. Step away from the noise. Get quiet enough to hear the only voice that matters, your own. Because your truth isn't out there. It's been inside you this whole time, waiting, watching, burning. All it needs, Saif, is your attention. This world, this bloody, beautiful, chaotic, noisy, tempting world, it's designed to pull you in, twist you, mold you, break you. It doesn't ask who you are. It tells you who to be. And if you're not careful, if you don't have a rock-solid sense of self, you'll become everything they want and absolutely nothing you need. So let me ask you a question. What's going to protect you when the world tries to strip you of your soul, your for money, your charm? No. It's your solitude, your inner spine, your alone time weaponry that no one can see, but everyone can feel. I'm not talking about being antisocial or mysterious. I'm talking about mastering the art of being alone. So the world can't manipulate you with its noise, its praise, or its judgment. You see, when you've spent time alone, real time with yourself, you develop an edge, a presence, a clarity that doesn't bend in the wind of opinions. Most people walk around like borrowed identities, trying to impress with filtered thoughts, trying to fit in, trying to be liked. That's not life, that's slavery with style. But the ones who have sat alone, the ones who've wrestled their demons in the dead of night, who've asked the hard questions without blinking, they don't get shaken. They shake others. Alone time is your training ground. It's your silent dojo where you learn how to take emotional punches and smile like it's foreplay. It's where your skin thickens, your heart deepens, and your mind turns from scattered glass to focused flame. You walk differently when you've been through your own fire. People sense it. They can't name it, but they feel it. That quiet authority, that grounded storm, that unspoken, I know who the hell I am energy. The world throws noise at you. Expectations, trends, pressure. But if you've trained yourself in silence, none of it gets in. You know how to pause. You know how to stay centered. You know how to walk into chaos and not lose your rhythm. That's what being alone teaches you. It gives you armor. Invisible but bulletproof. You'll see people for what they really are. You won't chase temporary validation. You won't confuse attention with love or comfort with purpose. Because when you've built yourself in solitude, you carry a level of power that doesn't need permission to exist. You become unpredictable in the best way, uncaged, unavailable for small talk and shallow living. You won't settle for anything less than what sets your soul on fire. But let me be brutally honest, it's not easy. Being alone isn't cute. It's not some Instagram aesthetic with coffee cups and books in bed. It's raw, ugly, savage. It tears you down before it builds you up. It forces you to face everything you've been avoiding. But that's where your real shape is formed. That's where your vision sharpens. That's where you build a version of yourself that doesn't crack under pressure, doesn't shrink in big rooms, that doesn't change just to be liked. You become a force. Because once you've been alone enough times, you stop fearing rejection, you stop fearing failure, you stop fearing judgment. The worst has already happened. You've been alone with your pain, and you survived. Not just survived, you evolved. So now, when the world tests you, you don't flinch. You don't over-explain. You don't seek validation. You're rooted. You're locked in. You're clear. And you don't get this power in crowds. You don't get it from claps or compliments. You get it from choosing yourself so many damn times that it becomes a reflex, an instinct, a way of breathing. They'll wonder why you don't beg for their approval, why you don't get desperate when you're doubted. It's because you've already seen what's behind the curtain. You've met your fears and dined with your doubts. You've survived nights where no one was watching, and still you showed up for yourself. That's rare. That's rare. So don't be afraid of stepping back. Don't fear the silence. Don't rush to be understood by a world that barely understands itself. Take your time. Build your strength. Carve out your identity with the precision of an artist and the madness of a warrior. Let solitude turn your chaos into command. Let grind your softness into steel, your questions into purpose. Because once you emerge it, once you walk back into the world, after knowing yourself so deeply, you become untouchable. You don't get shaken. You shake things up. You don't need to announce your worth. Your energy speaks for you. You don't try to be different. You simply are. and the world can't help but notice. They'll wonder what you've got. They'll try to copy your glow, but they won't have the secret. The secret is you walked alone and you didn't run. You stood, you listened, you became. So when the world tries to make you forget your dreams, your voice, your fire, your inner voice will roar louder. I've already met myself. You can't sell me a version I don't need. That's the power solitude gives you. It's not about escaping the world. It's about becoming so solid, so real, so rooted in who you are, that when you step into the world, you don't lose yourself. You lead it.